Depression is a beast, but like other beasts, it can be conquered with the proper tools. My life started off rocky. When my mom was giving birth to me, she had complications. She actually died for a few minutes, and in that time that she died, the story that she relates to me is that she saw her mother at the end of a tunnel, and her mother said, "It's not your time yet. You need to go back and you need to take care of your son. He's going to need you." When my mother was younger, something similar happened with her own mother. Her own mother died during childbirth. So I think, this is my own theory, is that when my mother saw her mother and relating to that death where her mother and the child both died, that's when she went into full mother hen mode, and she did everything that she could to keep me safe. I didn't grow up with a father. He left when I was an infant. But my mother was there to take care of me. But I was still missing a father. I was missing a role model. There was something that I was missing. I had my older brothers. I had my older sister. But I was the little brother, the little annoying brother, and they didn't want anything to do with me. At least not my brothers. My sister, she was more compassionate. I get my love of Luis Miguel from her because she would play the Luis Miguel cassettes. So, but going to school, that's when it was a little harder. It was a little bit more difficult. You know, I would be picked on because I was just a child. I was a little kid. I would be picked on. I had some bullies. It was just hard for me to deal with bullies. I didn't have a father to teach me this is how you deal with that. This is how you handle those situations. I tried to do the best I could, but it was very difficult. When I was 8 years old, my mother went to go to the store. She said, "I'll be back," but I wanted to go with her, and I was a brat. I didn't. I wanted to go with my mom's, and what I wanted mattered. Like I didn't have a father to give me the discipline that I needed, so I ran. I ran, and I was hit by a car. So that halted my tracks really quick, but it only exasperated what the kids were saying because they were like, "Well, he's crazy, he's dumb, he doesn't know this," and it was exasperated by the fact that I was hit by a car. So they just took that as confirmation. Well, this is why, because now you got hit by a car and you're not right in the head. Kids could be brutal. So growing up, that was something I had to deal with, and learning new things. I was 8 years old, and my own theory is when I was hit by that car, I stayed in that mentality for a while. I wasn't as malleable as I should have been. So there were things that were just harder for me to learn. That even to this day, there's some things I still struggle with, but I was able to overcome a lot of those issues, a lot of those obstacles. But before we get to that, I had a lot of growing up, and there was a lot of things that were just on my mind. I would constantly think about my father. I would think about the accident. Uh, there were things I couldn't do, and I just didn't understand. And it wasn't until I got older that I was realizing that I had some mental health issues. Well, back then, you didn't really talk about that. It was said in hushed tones, whispered tones. He's crazy. He's he's not all there in the head. So that got to me because it wasn't just kids at school saying this. Sometimes it was my own family. Sometimes my own mother in trying to defend me. Well, it's because he's like this. That didn't help. In high school, that's when a lot of things were just coming to a halt. They were just, the the rock meets the road. That was the first time I attempted suicide. It made things even worse because, again, it was a confirmation. He's crazy. He tried to take his own life. And like I said, it was still around the time where mental health was a very touchy subject. It was something that you didn't really talk about. There weren't that many solutions that were very effective. A lot of the solutions were just here, take this new pill. We have a new pill. Try this. That one doesn't work. Try this one. Let's up the dosage. Let's do this. A lot of those pills messed me up big time. They kept me in a zombie mode for a while. Well, sooner or later, the zombie is going to wake up, and there were things that I just couldn't understand, like how to deal with anger and frustration. So when I wasn't on the pills, a lot of those things were just coming up more and more and more. It wasn't up until my senior year of high school I met a student there, and he told me, "You're kind of out there, Frank. How about you come to church with me?" So I went to church, and I was interested because I wanted to know more, but I didn't know where to go to. We started going to church, and I started learning some things, but I was still trying to figure things out. Uh, I mistakenly thought, well, God is great. He can do a lot of things, but He can't help me. I'm too messed up. I'm crazy. That's what people have told me all my whole life. So how can God help me? Eventually, I left. That's when things got even more worse because now I didn't have that compass. I ended up in a mental institution, and I met a woman that became my fiance. Well, she was also a patient. So there was two crazy people finding love in the crazy house. I met this girl at a crazy house, and I loved her. But we both had issues. When we got out, we started dating. We started talking, and but unfortunately, she was there for a reason. I was there for a reason, and you know, long story short, she ended up taking her own life. We were living together in my mother's house for a short time, and during one of those uh, times, she just said, "Hey, go hang out with your friend. I'll be home. I'll be okay." What I didn't know is that she had a plan to finally end her life. When I got home, she was in a coma. I called the ambulance. They resuscitated her with the defibrillators, but brought her back in a coma. And a few months later, she passed away. So now I'm blaming myself. I don't even want to see my friends. I don't want to even go to the restaurant that I went with my friend. And it was getting worse. A few months later, I met another woman, and we started to hit it off. She also had mental health issues. And we broke up. We stayed in touch, but she also ended up taking her life. That was now two women under my belt who lost their lives, and I'm thinking, what is wrong with me? What's wrong? What's going on? Well, it wasn't until I started going back to church and start now going full force. I wasn't thinking, well, God can help me. I was like, I need God. Too many people are dying. I don't want to die. During those times, I had bouts of depression where I would cut myself out of anger, out of frustration, and some of those scars you can still see them. They're faded over time, The scars you couldn't see were the scars up here. And those scars, some have taken a little longer, some have healed, but I was able to get that healing through Jesus Christ, through my faith, through the support group that I was given and that I found in the Is God support group, intervention support group, overcoming depression. It was a long road. I still have a road ahead of me, but I know I can do it, Madam Toastmaster.